my next guest made history when she became Britain's first black female MP. That was 37 years ago, would you believe? Since then, well, it's fair to say Diane Abbott has faced so many challenges, from online abuse to conflicts, of course, within her own party. But now she's looking back on her life in a new book. It's called A Woman Like Me, and she joins me now. It's so good to see you. I really enjoyed this book, Diane. I particularly enjoyed the piece about your childhood, because we didn't know that about you. You know, that's the thing, we don't know where you come from. What shaped the woman that you are?
Well, first of all, it's very exciting. I'm not normally on shows that are this important. I wanted to write about my childhood because you don't necessarily read about what it was like to grow up in a working-class Jamaican family in the 60s and 70s. And I wanted, in a way, to honour my parents.
Hard-working, very hard-working people, and really gave you... I mean, the opportunities that you had was really from the fact that they gave you those, didn't they? They opened the world to you, encouraged you to ask questions and to read and to do all of these things.
Oh, definitely. My father moved us out of the inner city to an area where he thought the schools would be better, and they were.
Yeah, and you were able to do so many different things. I mean, why politics, though? Was that your family that encouraged you to do that, or did you just want to make a difference? What was the reason for that?
No, my family didn't encourage me to do that, although they wanted me to do the very best.
Yeah.
The only thing I can remember is in the morning, when I was at primary school, my mother used to plait my hair, and she always had the 8 o'clock news on. So I'd listen to news about politics, you know, and I'd say to myself, oh, if I was Prime Minister, I would do this.
Yeah.
But no, politics was way outside their understanding, but they wanted the best for their children. I suppose it was just something about me. I wanted to make a difference.
Yes. No, you did, and you have. But you have had to deal with, well, overt racism, also things behind your back. I mean, recently, and I hate even talking to you about this, but that quote from the Tory donor, Frank Hester, here's the quote. He says, "You see Diane Abbott on the TV and you just want to hate all black women. I don't hate all black women, but I think she should be shot." Diane, I mean, you've dealt with this all your life, but that is, I don't know how you cope with something like that.
That was horrible.
It's ghastly. Absolutely ghastly. Did you get support, though, from Keir Starmer, from the Labour Party? Did people sort of, like, come round and basically embrace you, if you like, and make sure that you were all right?
My friends came round, but my friends have always been terribly supportive. But sadly, I didn't get much support from Keir Starmer.
I find that staggering. I really do. And were you not really hurt by that?
I was a little bit hurt.
Of course
because
you would be.
If you're threatened with death, you'd expect your party to come round. Absolutely.
Because it's happened before. You know, this is the thing. We're not talking about something that might not happen. We know that it happens. And it's horrendous. It really is. You go into the book and it's like I say, a lot of people have got opinions about you, good and bad. But we don't really know you, because we only see that one side of you. And what I think is good is you talk about, in here, you talk about relationships. And everybody knows you had a wee fling with Jeremy Corbyn. Now, Jeremy, I feel as if I should be giving him advice. You went on a date with him, you got yourself dressed up. Where did he take you?
He took me to see Karl Marx's tomb in Highgate Cemetery.
Yeah, that's not really what one would expect from a date, to be fair.
No.
So it didn't quite work out for you. But
Exactly.
It kind of, you know what, Diane, it sort of fizzled away, didn't it? There was no big scene or anything, because he doesn't really do that. There's no big scene. It just didn't quite work out.
There was no bad feeling. Jeremy isn't like that, as you said.
No, and you're still mates. You're still friends.
We're still friends.
When you look back at your life, is there anything that you think, geez, I wish I hadn't done that?
Well, you know, I've made mistakes.
Who hasn't?
But in a way, mistakes are part of who you are. And I think I've been very privileged to do things and go places that women from my background wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, so look on the positives.
Oh, yeah, you have to look on the positive.
But the thing is, you remember, and obviously you remember, all of that stuff when you went on LBC about the police and the maths and all the rest of it. And it's kind of like, well let's have a listen, because I want to talk to you about that, because I think it's important. You're expected to know everything now if you're in public life. Again, How do you deal with that? Because that became such a massive thing, didn't it?
I was very overwhelmed. But, you know, my brother said he couldn't believe I got figures wrong because as a young girl, I was always very good at figures.
You were good at maths.
But, you know, women in public life are not allowed to make mistakes.
And it's hard for them. It's more difficult for them. No, I understand. Now, we talked about Jeremy. It didn't quite work out with him, but you are remarkably 70 years old. You don't look it, you don't feel it, you don't have that attitude. Would you still be, you know, up for a date? Would you still, I mean, is it something that you think, oh, no, I've done that now, so I don't want to do that? Or would you still like to have someone in your life, even a companion, something like that?
Oh, yes. I always think Prince Charming is around the corner.
Yes. Well, we have to think that, don't we, Diane? We absolutely do. We really do. For you, though, it says on the front of the book, you're a trailblazer in every sense. And for you, is it very important to kind of hand that over? You know, all the experience that you've had, to give that back?
It's very important for me because what's the point of being Diane Abbott if you don't allow other people to come up the ladder?
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that somebody that worked for me for 10 years is now a Member of Parliament.
See, that's fantastic, isn't it? And you're now the mother of the house. How does that feel? Because you are kind of like, you know, the wise woman of the house.
Well, it feels rather overwhelming, and I wouldn't have dreamt when I was a young woman running for Parliament that I would end up as mother of the house.
Well, you have got such a lot of experience, and like I say, people have formed their opinions of you, but I would urge them to read the book to find out, you know, exactly who you are and what your life was like and how you got to here. A hell of a lot of similarities in here, Diane, with my own background as well, you know, coming from a working class family in Glasgow. And do you think that the opportunities for women like yourself are still there? Is it easier?
I think it is a little bit easier, and there are many more black women in Parliament than when I started. When I started, I was the only black woman in Parliament, surrounded by very important men, and for 10 years I was the only black woman in Parliament. So it is a little bit easier, but it's not as easy as it should be. Yeah.
We need to do more. We need to do better. Diane, thank you for coming in. It's so, so good to see you. It really is, and it's a great read. It's a kind of history of so many women, you know, women of colour and not. It's our story. Thank you so much. It's great to see you. Thank you. And Diane's book, A Woman Like Me, it's out on Thursday, isn't it? Out on Thursday.